All rise.
I want viewers watching my show to believe in themselves.
Judge Hatchett is compelling.
I was not the first one to throw a walk.
Let me just tell you what you just said.
Compassionate.
I really enjoy being a judge. Now I am touching people who I will never know I touched.
She's powerful.
You should have never let them walk out of your life when she was 3.
And she's on the bench.
Don't get me preaching up in here today.
Right.
You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. Sissy Buckhausen is suing Darla Carrington in the amount of $500. Ms. Buckhausen claims Ms. Carrington fed the stray cats in their neighborhood, and her prized flower collection was damaged as a result. Ms. Carrington claims the plaintiff's hoarding has attracted rats and says the cats keep the rodent population under control.
Ms. Buckhausen and Ms. Carrington, I understand you all are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
You all are maybe next door neighbors,
Yes.
as I understand from
Yes,
the complaint. But you find it necessary to sue your next door neighbor for $500.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Why?
My neighbor has been feeding feral cats, and they are coming over and they are destroying my crop of orchids.
So do you have several orchids? I mean, you have a greenhouse. Tell me how it's laid out and how these cats could possibly destroy your orchids.
Yes, ma'am. The orchids are kept in a hothouse, and because of her feeding these feral cats, they are then coming to my house and are going under my house and having kittens. These kittens are then getting into my hothouse and are shredding them, as you can see. And I can get $25 a piece for these at the local farmer's market that I sell them at. And they're just completely destroyed.
So that's how we come up with the $500 amount.
Yes, Your
That
Honor.
there were 20 orchids that were destroyed.
Correct.
And that you could then get $25 at the local market for them.
That is correct.
Can I see that, please?
Yes,
Let me
ma'am.
just see what happened. I mean, it looks horrible.
Yes.
All right, so how did these cats get into, I mean, do you have a fence? Is the greenhouse locked? I mean, what happens?
It is, or at least I thought it was, a secured hothouse, but somehow they keep managing to get in after I've taken measures to keep them out. They're still managing to find their way in.
Okay, so let's back up. When did the problem with the cats start?
This started about 3 years ago.
3 years?
That's
This has
wrong,
been
Your
going
Honor.
on for 3 years?
Yes, ma'am, was the first incident where they were found under my house.
All right, Ms. Carrington, surely there must be some explanation. What's going on with these cats, and why are all these cats getting over into your neighbor's yard, into her greenhouse with her orchids?
These aren't my cats, they're feral cats. And without these feral cats, our neighborhood would be overrun with rats because of the trash that she has in her yard. She's a hoarder, Your Honor.
Oh, so we're going to go there right now?
Oh, yeah.
Not a hoarder at all.
Whatever.
Not at all. Just because
Whatever.
I keep my trash and my recycling in the backyard before I take it out to the curb, all of a sudden that makes me a hoarder.
So, Ms. Carrington, what happened? How is it that you started having all of these cats?
Well, one day a cat just happened to wander onto my porch. He was so cute. And he would nuzzle against my leg. He'd nap on my porch, and then at night he'd go and do his thing, go hunting, whatever. And he didn't come around all the time right away, but then he started coming around more often, and I noticed he was getting really skinny, so I started feeding him. And he started looking better. He was getting heavier. It was great.
And he kept
but
coming.
she wasn't having anything to do with that.
And
she came over.
He kept coming
Yes,
because you
yes.
started feeding him.
Right.
Right? Now, did you think that there was a problem with her being a hoarder and there being rodents in the neighborhood before you started feeding this cat?
No, I don't. It wasn't until 3 years ago, like she said, when the first incident started, that after she went through a messy divorce.
Wait a minute, what's her
She
divorce
changed.
got to do
Really?
with this?
Well, she changed. I mean, she used to be really nice.
No. The question is, before you started, did this cat have a name?
Well, I call him Henry.
Okay, so before you started feeding Henry, did you ever complain about her hoarding things or there being a problem with rodents?
Yes, I did. In fact, all the neighbors knew about the rats. I mean, when she started hoarding, we started getting all kinds of rats. Everybody, not just me, not just her. She liked to share. And personally,
So
I
that's how you
think
just-
the cats were after some of the food in her trash that she left outside, not just the food that I was feeding them.
Sure.
Not just eating.
So now the cat has, apparently this cat wasn't Henry, because I understand that there were kittens.
Right, he started putting on weight, and then I noticed that Henry wasn't Henry, he was actually Henrietta, and pregnant. And as cats do, he disappeared for a while, or she, because she was queening.
Coming up on The Verdict with Judge Hatchett.
Why not stop feeding the cats?
Because we have an overabundance of rats. But she denies even having any rats.
What are you, the Pied Piper? There are no rats in my yard.
And later,
The pictures that he did take of my wife's
of the bridesmaid and us were honestly creepy.
closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Sissy Buckhausen, who is suing Darla Carrington for $500.
So now she comes back and she has cats, and you're saying that the cat has kittens under your house.
They've turned my house into a kitty maternity ward.
Okay, and then what happened? What did you do then?
The first time this happened, although being highly allergic to cats, but also being an animal lover, I went to her and said, we need to get these cats out from under my house.
Okay.
I understand she wasn't able to do it right away, but I had an obligation, so I had to do it right away.
Right.
So I crawled under the couch, or the house rather, and got all scratched up from this obvious mother cat who was not having any parts of me dealing with her kittens.
Yep, that's usually how it happens.
Right?
All right.
Got them out, and I took them to a vet to have them spayed and neutered, and I then took them to a rescue that had an adoption for them.
All right, so now, Henrietta and the litter, they're all gone.
Correct.
So why do we have a problem today? What happened then?
This is now the third incident.
Where
I've never heard
a
about
cat
any
has come
second
under my
incident
house
or-
and had kittens, and now it's not bad enough that they're just under my house. I've talked to animal control twice because the 2 subsequent times animal control had been called at my request to come and get them and take them. After this third attempt, the guy told me if she doesn't stop feeding these feral cats, they are not gonna stop coming and having kittens under my house.
All right, Miss Carrington, if this is a problem, and we know that your neighbor is allergic, and we know that these cats are coming because you continue to feed them, obviously, and that we're having this over and over and over as a problem, and they're having kittens under her house, why not stop feeding the cats?
Because we have an overabundance of rats. Because
Can
of
you
her
call
trash
an
and the cats
exterminator?
keep.
Don't you just call an exterminator? Why not
Well,
call an exterminator?
We would if she could, if she would agree to that. But she denies even having any rats.
What are you, the Pied Piper? There are no rats in my yard.
You need to talk to some of the neighbors then, because
Where are
I don't
they?
know which world you're living in,
Where
but
are
I even
they?
see them during the day.
Miss Carrington, focus. I need you to focus on the issue at hand. She has orchids. She can sell them at the market for $25 a piece. 20 orchids have been destroyed. She has already spent money on taking the cat, the kittens, and all of these animals to the vet, and then she has to call animal control. It seems simple to me. Stop feeding the stray cats.
But, Your Honor, even if I do that, she's still got rats. What's she gonna do
That's
about
not
the
my problem
rats, the
today.
feral
That's
cats?
not my problem today. My problem is cats that you're feeding are destroying her property. And she's saying that you owe her $500. Why isn't that true? Why isn't that so?
I don't owe her $500.
Well,
The cats are not mine.
Well,
She's the one who takes them and gets them spayed and neutered and whatever.
You have them.
I only feed them.
You feed them.
They're more her cat than mine.
Look, these are not her cats. If you didn't feed the cats, if you hadn't started with Henry, who then turned into Henrietta, and you were feeding these cats, and then Henrietta has a bunch of kittens, and we've gone through this not once, not twice, but 3 times, and enough is enough. They're destroying her plants. I am saying to you, you have to stop feeding the stray cats. And if you continue to do so, you're going to be right back here in my courtroom, and it won't be $500 next time because I will remember that you were warned. I'm entering judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500 that you're going to pay, and you have 3 months to pay it, and you need to call animal control, and you need to stop feeding the cats. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise. Judge Hatchett has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $500.
Look, we're neighbors. We don't have to have a cat fight about this. Let's figure it out.
Sure, but let's start with cleaning your house.
Coming up,
What doesn't make sense is the pictures that he did take of my wife's.
Of the bridesmaid and us were honestly creepy.
closed captioning provided by. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. Matthew Barnes is suing Mary and David Chang in the amount of $1,170. Mr. Barnes claims the co-defendants hired him to photograph their wedding, but refused to pay the balance of his fee after their nephew disrupted his work. The co-defendants say Mr. Barnes took poor quality photos and claim he used their nephew as an excuse to cover for his mistakes.
Mr. Barnes, you are suing the Chang couple for $1,170. You say it's a breach of contract. Tell me what happened, please.
Your Honor, my profession is I'm a photographer. So Mr. and Mrs. Chang found my ad online, and they reached out and contacted me to shoot their wedding. And they asked me to do something I normally don't do. They said they have a nephew that is in film school, and they wanted him to pretty much shadow me. You know, it was his dream to do something like that. At first I said no, but they gave me a sob story, and I went on ahead, I allowed an exclusion for this specific situation.
So you had a relative, how is he related to you?
So he's my nephew.
He's your
and
nephew, and he's in film school.
He's in film school. He's a freshman in film school this year.
And so you wanted him to shadow Mr. Barnes?
That was not the case, no. So before the wedding, we called to let Mr. Barnes know that we had a nephew who was really eager, who wanted to just take some pictures for the wedding. And we asked him, and we said, hey, is it all right if we have our nephew? And he does have a medical condition. He has a little bit of ADHD. So we let him know ahead of time, and he said, it's all right. Even though it's in the contract, he said it would be fine. He was there just to kind of take pictures, and he wanted to really just like capture our special moment for us as well. And
But you had a professional photographer.
So he's a practicing photographer. So we wanted him to just be there, and we wanted to give him support really because he also has mental issues. We wanted to make sure that he had a chance to take pictures of us. It's something that he really wanted to do. So we made sure that per contract, before signing off, that he was okay with this.
Coming up,
Well, he claims he had around 30-40% of the pictures that are good, and then the rest are just bad. The pictures that he did take of my wife's.
Of the bridesmaid and us were honestly creepy.
closed captioning provided by. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Matthew Barnes, who is suing David and Mary Chang for non-payment of services.
You were contracted to take professional pictures of their wedding, is that
Yes.
right? Was there a contract?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, I have it right here.
And may I have that, please? And Mr. Barnes, What was the agreement?
One, I don't allow people that aren't me to go around and shoot for a specific reason because their lighting and stuff interferes with my pictures. I did give an exclusion. I will say that after they gave me the sob story and they let me know about the mental condition.
How much were you to be paid under the terms of the contract?
Okay, so I have my initial deposit of $900, which is standard.
$900 standard, all right, deposit.
And then the other $900 to be paid after they received the pictures.
Okay.
But they did not tell me that he was going to come in with a professional camera, like unto mine. He had a professional camera with the bright flash and everything. So at first I tried to brush that off. You know, I'm like, okay, well, this can be an issue, but just keep the flash off because the flash messes up my camera. It
I'm not a
automatically goes
professional
up.
photographer, but I know that much. Well, do you have some evidence? Tell me what happened.
Well, he claims he had around 30–40% of the pictures that are good, and then the rest are just bad. So for a wedding, that's unacceptable. But what doesn't make sense is the pictures that he did take of my wife's...
Of the bridesmaid and us were honestly creepy. Very
Creepy?
creepy pictures.
Do you have the pictures? Can I see some of these
We
creepy?
definitely do, and it's very embarrassing to actually have here.
Oh my goodness. We have pictures.
And you can clearly see that they're watermarked of Mr. Barnes' work. This can't be anyone else's because photography has been watermarked by Mr. Barnes.
I have not seen these pictures.
All right, let's do that. Let's let you see the pictures.
Your Honor, I swear to you that these pictures, I didn't take these pictures, and it wouldn't even make sense for me to send, if I did take these pictures, it wouldn't even make sense for me to send incriminating evidence to my, to my clients. It wouldn't even make sense.
Judge Hatchett's verdict when we return. Promotional consideration provided by. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett.
I think there is responsibility on both sides. You could have been more aggressive in trying to remove this nephew from the scene. You know what the situation is. If somebody's coming into your shot, I'm not a professional photographer, but I know enough to know that if somebody is trying to take a shot and then there's somebody else whose flash goes off, I mean, you can even do that with cell phones now. We've had situations where you have professional photographers and they have to say, please, everybody refrain from taking pictures right now because it'll interfere. And Mr. and Mrs. Chang, I know your heart is in the right place, both of you. I know, but to have this person who was not a professional on the most important first day, there'll be a lot of important days in your lives going forward, but the most important first day that you will share together to get married really was not wise. It was not wise. I am not going to give you the full amount that you've asked for, but I am going to reduce that claim because I do think that there is some equal responsibility here. So I'm going to award you $500 of the $1,170 that you claimed. Nothing further. We'll stand adjourned.
All rise.
Judge Hatchett has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The co-defendants are ordered to pay $500.
I did my job and I didn't even get paid for it. I hope y'all can sleep at night, you liars.
I guess cheap work does pay a price, you creep.
This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.